Hey guys, my name's Jake, and today I'm going to be breaking out my first and favorite art supply. That's right, bringing out the pencils to try to create a piece that is bigger and better than anything that I've done before. I think from time to time it's really cool to do this as an artist, to go into a piece solely with the intent of pushing yourself to see what you can create that you couldn't have done a few years ago, a few months ago, whatever it may be. It's really cool to track that growth, whether it be in size or scale, technical difficulty, even stylistically, and just to see how far you come, and it can be a really rewarding experience. So that's the purpose of this one. I want to just have some fun, create a really big, technically impressive piece, and hopefully it comes out. Just real quick before we get started, and while we're on the subject of growth, some of y'all may have noticed we recently hit 100 subscribers on the channel, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support. It's been really awesome to see this channel grow and rewarding to share it with so many people across this platform. Really looking forward to the continued growth of the channel, and just want to say thank you guys so much for where we're at. This is awesome, and I can't thank you guys enough. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive into today's piece. Let's get started. So to get started here, I've got the sketch already all laid out, working on a big 13 by 19 piece of paper. This is the biggest drawing that I've ever done. And when hunting down a reference photo, I found this really cool, kind of crazy photo of a tiger jumping out of water that just had all of these really cool technical elements that I knew were going to be really difficult to pull off, and it was just exactly what I wanted. On top of that, I've been looking recently at finding some different ways to elevate my realism drawings beyond just strictly duplicating the reference. So some of the things that I've seen recently, whether it be on Instagram or Reddit or wherever I'm looking at art, are these one-line drawings where people are just taking a continuous stroke to create kind of a really cool image. And what I thought would be cool to do is to do that same thing, to do a one-line drawing of this tiger that I'm trying to represent here, and kind of interlace it and weave it throughout the composition to add a cool little different element to this piece beyond just doing a straight realistic copy of the photo. So that's the plan, and I'm starting drawing as usual, just upper left working to lower right, all just focusing on the detail of the tiger here, remembering to leave that negative space where I need to for that single line drawing that's going to be interwoven throughout. Once I got past the head of this tiger, the rest of it really became pretty repetitive. Just basically sectioning this thing out into big chunks of fur, whether that be on the neck, the shoulder, or along the back, and just try to do my best to put in that fur texture with as much detail as I could. The general process for this is kind of what you'd expect. I always go in and lay in those dark shadows, whether that's the stripes or actual shadows on this piece, because that always gives me a good frame of reference to judge the rest of my values off of. Once those dark shadows are laid in, I come back at a base color for the fur, and then I'm just layering on top with different shadows through the fur to add that texture or to pick up highlights with the eraser. Obviously all the strokes going in the direction of the fur, just trying to give that sense of depth and texture that the fur needs to feel realistic. Once all the fur was done on this piece, I started getting really excited. This thing was looking super cool, but then realized that I had a long way to go with trying to create this big splash of water that was at the bottom of the image. These big splashes is something that I haven't done before. While the fur, I was a little comfortable. I had done some pieces with hair and was all right with how I was going to approach that. The water was something that I was left to kind of figure out with this piece, which is always fun. I kind of took that same strategy that I used with the fur, lay down a base color, and go through in multiple passes to kind of push those shadows a little deeper and to pick up highlights. One thing that really helped while trying to do this water was to keep in mind something that I had learned while doing fur or hair in general in the past. The main goal at the end of this piece is to have something that has the impression or feel of the subject or texture that you're trying to draw, not necessarily to perfectly replicate every little bit of light and shadow on the reference photo. So rather than nitpicking every little line that I was putting down, I remembered to focus on those big sections of shadow and highlight in the reference as a guide, and then to allow for a loose interpretation that mimicked the look that I was seeing in the photo rather than exactly replicated it. I found that this approach has really helped me to create cleaner pieces overall, because that looseness is so important, especially when drawing hair and frankly water. So it definitely helped and produced a pretty cool result with this one. Now, the idea from the get-go of this piece was to have it done on a black background. I just love how the image pops off a black background rather than the white page. And so my idea going into this piece was to basically color in the entire background and to use negative space for the line work rather than actually coloring in the line. With that, and as big as a space as it was, I came up with an idea to lay down charcoal as a base to help me get that coverage, and then come back over the top with my 8B pencil to sort of blend it in, add that pencil, fill in any gaps that the charcoal may have missed, and also to replicate that shine of the graphite rather than the flatness of the charcoal, so that it didn't look like it was two different materials. Overall, I think it worked really well. I don't know how much it sped up the process, though I think it probably did save my 8B pencil from being fully used up by the end of this piece, so I'll call that a win. In order to keep the best angle throughout this piece while coloring it in, I ended up rotating it while I was coloring in the background just to make sure my hand was never resting on any other part of the drawing. Everybody knows charcoal can get messy, and especially even these dark 8B pencils can get really messy. So it was, I did what I could to try to avoid resting my hand anywhere on the paper during this process. Once the black was all laid in, this thing was done, I carefully took it out for a quick spray in my custom paint booth. And now this thing is ready, it's done. Let's take a look at these final shots. All right, after a quick month of working, talking 30 hours in this piece, we are finally done, and I could not be happier with the final result. In terms of hitting all of the targets that I wanted to, in terms of growth and the technical difficulty, I think I was able to hit the fur and the water really well and capture all that, and I'm just super happy with how that piece turned out. Love how the line work intertwines, and I think it's a cool composition that I'll definitely continue to play with in the future. There are still some stuff that I would change. I think the black background, as cool and impactful as it is, might be a little overpowering, and there might be some better ways to utilize some different geometry and compositional elements to add some depth and interest to the piece, and I'm probably gonna keep that in mind to play around with in the future. But I think it's important, even with these kind of growth pieces that you're super happy with, to take a step back and figure out, all right, where can we go next time? And definitely looking at this one, that would be the one thing that I would change. But overall, just thrilled with the piece, had a ton of fun making it. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell if you want to get notified as soon as videos come out. I know this one took a while, but I do appreciate y'all hanging in there. Actually, on that note, I'd be interested to know whether you guys like these longer, more detailed pieces, or some of the other stuff that I'm putting out. If you've got some thoughts that you want to share, be sure to drop a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. With that said, just want to say thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.